Teammates, first and foremost, if this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the show. Welcome to the number one show on innovative teamwork. Great to have you. Looking forward to having you back for more. To my regular listeners, you already know how I get down, right to the point. And today we are discussing the difference, all right? The difference between convenience and qualified. The difference between being convenient, all right, being someone or doing some things or having people in your life that are simply convenient to you, and versus having people in your life that are actually qualified and or bringing in the most qualified candidates or bringing the most qualified prospects, bringing the most qualified employees, bringing the most qualified staff members into your business versus bringing the people who are just simply convenient. And I'll just let you know off jump, if you do want to run a sustainable business, if you want to do anything worth a damn in this world, then you're going to have to fight human nature. All right, we make sure I'm making this very clear for you at the beginning here. You're going to fight human nature and go after the people and be around the people who are qualified to do whatever it is the job title, the job description, or the role is that you're looking to fill versus the people who are simply convenient. All right, because what happens naturally, and what, again, like I mentioned, is a part of human nature, is we're born into a situation that we have absolutely zero control over. We don't have any control over what situation we're born into. We come into this world without any control, and whatever is around us is what is conveniently around us. We automatically naturally fall into that same way of thinking, that same way of living, are simply without asking any questions, because that's what has been laid out for us as kids. However, when you start to grow up and you start to develop your own mindset and you have your own life experiences, you start to get hints and you start to see certain things in which you realize, hey, being around a more qualified person or being the most qualified person, although it takes a level, although it's not going to be easy to become a qualified person yourself and or find the most qualified people, that work or that lifestyle is a whole lot more rewarding, because again, you're around folks who are qualified to do a certain job, you're around folks who are qualified to fill certain roles, and you're able to grow and expand. All right, now I will tell you, this episode, what sparked the idea for this episode was the fact that I'm recording this. It is about we're approaching mid to late September, and this is a week after the presidential debate it was the first presidential debate for Kamala Harris, actually the second one for Donald Trump. And as you regular listeners know, I've been speaking a lot on the concept of politics throughout this political season. And by the time this episode comes out, I do believe we will be somewhere actually around having officially chose a president-elect for 2025. They start obviously in 2025, and they get another 4 years for 2028 and all that kind of stuff, right? We'll basically know who the next president is somewhere around the time this recording is scheduled to come out. So it's actually going to be perfect timing. And I'm bringing this up, I'm referencing that because even though we're this late in the election, Kamala Harris has officially done her first solo interview. All right, first solo interview. We're 54 days away from the election. She did her first solo interview, which was incredibly soft. There was no real hard questions that she was asked, which is mind-boggling to me in it that she is doing her first interview at this state in the game. But it's obvious, it drives home the point, and I'm using her as a reference for this. But it's crazy to me that she's doing her first solo interview after a debate, and seeing that we're so close to the election, and now people are now getting to see her have a conversation one-on-one. And it was a conversation that lasted all of 9 minutes. So it wasn't like a real long drawn out, interview where she gives people a chance to really get to know who she is. For the past 3 years, she's been the vice president for Joe Biden, and before, and again, not taking anything away from her resume or her story. I mean, it's an incredible story. It's excellent. It's incredibly inspiring. However, for the longest time, it wasn't like it wasn't nationally known. It was now she's becoming like, celebrity type presidential candidate. And now she's getting a ton of media coverage. Before she wasn't really no one really knew who she was from the national scale. If you knew who she was, it was because you maybe lived in Cali, or she may or something. You may have been involved in the judicial system and all that kind of stuff. But this was the first time since the entire campaign in which she gave a solo interview. And I watched this, and not I. So first, I didn't know about the interview initially because there's actually somebody that shout out to. I think his name is Anton. I don't want to mix up the last name, but the guy named Anton, between Anton and another guy named Brandon Tatum, who I really, really, really have locked into a lot of their YouTube videos because they pay attention to politics. And that's where I kind of go to get my information, to get some balance, because again, two Black guys that aren't just saying Kamala Harris is great for the country because she's Black, but they're very critical of her. They're Trump supporters, and they're not Trump supporters because they necessarily think everything Trump does is perfect, but they're just being fair, and they're saying, hey, this is what's best for the economy, and this is what's not best. They're just focusing on policy. So people who are about that, who are not simply looking at a person's race and their gender and all that when they're identifying people and they're trying to qualify people, I tend to get attracted to those kinds of minds, right? So he was, again, the guy's name is Anton. I don't want to mess up. His last name is escaping me at the moment, and I don't want to mess it up. So it'll just go for Anton for the sake of this episode, right? So the way that works is they and I got to figure out how to do this myself, actually. I'm not a technology guy at all, but they have their own YouTube channel, and they play a video. So they played the entire YouTube interview. They played the entire interview on YouTube that Kamala Harris did, the entire solo interview. And basically they would let it play, and then they would be able to comment on each point. So us as viewers can see what they're talking about and stuff like that. Like I said, I gotta figure out how to do that for myself, because I'm gonna have to add that I have to add that element to my channel as well. But so he was basically doing what I just described, again, going over Kamala Harris's solo interview on live on YouTube, and stopping it when it needs to be stopped, stopping this when it made certain points and all that kind of stuff, right? And it dawned on me as he was doing that, because he is one of those people that, like I said, pays a very close attention to politics, knows his numbers. You could just tell just through watching some of his videos that he really knows his stuff. And he was he made it very clear that Kamala Harris's talking points have been the same every single time. Every single time she gives a rally, to every single time that she answers a question in the debate, to the point where he was actually answering questions that this reporter was giving Kamala Harris. He was answering the questions before Kamala Harris even said anything, and he was spot on. He was saying things right before she said it, and it turned out to be 100% true. And as once I watched that, and then I went back and I watched the interview myself and gave my own evaluation. I looked at it, and I really just watched the way she interacts and the way the questions came out. It dawned on me, and I don't necessarily blame her for this at all. I'm just like any U.S. citizen. Obviously, I'm going to be critical about what I see when it comes to who the two candidates are. And I'm just as critical with Donald Trump as I am with her, because that's just what I do when it comes to the evaluation process. And for you regular listeners, you guys already know, I have myself, I haven't ruled out doing something in politics. Not saying I'm going to go and try to run for governor and become the president one day, but never say never. But I have not ruled out being involved in getting folks together and doing things in which I'm speaking regularly, because it lends into my skill set. It lends into my money-making skills. So I don't necessarily rule out doing a great deal of work in politics myself. So especially this season, it has become more and more interesting to me. And again, you regular listeners know how many solo episodes I've been talking about politics over the past couple of weeks, right? So I went back and I watched it for myself and I looked at it and it got me thinking about everything that Joe Biden actually said when he officially dropped out the race about 2 months ago from this recording. So I have to catch you up to speed. Joe Biden was supposed to be the one running against Donald Trump. He has a horrific performance at this debate. And then the next 2 weeks, I think maybe it was 2 weeks, Joe Biden goes and catches COVID. All right. This is how bad things got for the Democratic Party. He catches COVID, even though just 3 fucking years ago he was pushing this vaccine and telling everyone they needed to put a jab, put something in their body and all that. He, ironically, coincidentally, gets COVID, and then I guess once he got over COVID, he officially dropped out the race. And one of the things that I actually pointed out during his speech when he dropped out the race, like I was literally waiting. There was a whole, maybe I think it was like an 8 to 10 minutes address in which he officially dropped out the race. And I'm sitting there waiting, listening, trying to figure out why it is he dropped out the race. And I get no answer still to this day. I don't know why he dropped out the race. And it's even more ridiculous, more crazy to me that he drops out the race and Kamala Harris has yet to tell us why he dropped out the race. And there's people out, this is how crazy identity politics is. There's people out there who are telling me, oh, she don't need to explain herself. She don't need to explain why Joe Biden, because he's, just making assumptions. I'm like, why is it that she doesn't need to explain why the president that she fucking endorsed, all right, the vice president of the United States for the past 3 years has been Kamala Harris, and she's now running for president because the initial president didn't dropped out the race, and because she, I don't know, because I guess she's a woman, like she's a black woman, she doesn't need to explain why exactly the president is going to be dropping out of the race. And there's people who are actually going to be voting for this is crazy to me, absolutely crazy to me. But anyway, that's me giving my opinion. I don't like telling you who to vote for. I'm actually one of the ones that is responsible enough not to tell you who to vote for, but you should be making your own decisions and being very critical about the candidate, regardless of color, right? So anyway, Joe Biden gives this address, and one of the things that I came out and spoke on the next day because I thought it just needed to be addressed. It was the most fucking ridiculous thing I think I've personally ever heard, and I was, as a black man, I was beyond offended that this guy would say some crazy shit like this. He goes, "Okay, I made it a point to appoint an administration that looked like America. I made it a point to do that." That's what Joe Biden. This is what Joe Biden said in his final address when he officially dropped out the race. All right. Here was my biggest issue when he said that. It wasn't that you made an attempt to find the most qualified people to fill your administration or to put in your administration. You said you found the people that looked like America. What the fuck kind of shit is that? The point of being the president of the United States should be about putting the most qualified people on a certain job. So when you say something so ridiculous and then you look at who your vice president is, again, very qualified. I'm not taking away from her qualifications. I'm not taking away at all of the things that she's done in the past. In fact, I think that's an incredible feat. But let's be honest, when you have a president who's talking about what somebody looks like and using your looks as a means of putting you in certain positions, it's a very educated assumption. It's very easy, it's very much logical to really ask yourself, did you put someone in office or did you put someone in position that was qualified or convenient? And that, I think, is bullshit because, again, if you look through Kamala Harris's past, you realize she's a very qualified individual in certain things. Not that doesn't mean just because she's very qualified doing other things does not necessarily mean ultimately now she's ready to become the president of the United States. That's bullshit. That's ridiculous. That's what we call a reach. That's what we call making something where somebody who is very qualified at one thing and is convenient because of the way she looks. Okay, I'm going to put her in a position that she's just simply not ready for and then I'm gonna be able to say to the people, oh, look what I did. Look, I put her in office. I was the one that set it up. That is the game that they're playing. All right. That's the game that they're playing. You guys have got to be aware of this shit. All right. Because what I said at the beginning is very true. It is very easy. It's human nature for all of us, every single one of us, every single person to walk down this road of convenience, to walk down this road and to stay your whole life staying and only making decisions that are convenient for you. All right. Versus doing the work, doing the self-development, really engaging yourself in the growth process, in the painful growth process towards finding and first of all, making yourself actually qualified to do a certain job, and ultimately putting people around you who are just as qualified, so you're able to move whatever organization you represent, whatever it is you're trying to do, you're able to move forward in that process. Qualified versus convenience. All right. And it dawned on me as I went back and I watched Kamala Harris's first solo interview, it dawned on me that this is actually what's going on. What's actually going on when you take what Biden said in his farewell speech or whatever, I don't even know what the fuck it is you want to call it, when he officially announced that he was dropping out. When you take what he said and then you take the way that this campaign has been running, where she's just doing a bunch of rallies, like, I mean, just doing rallies, and really just kind of has the same talking points over and over and over and over again. It's very much like, it very much feels, and I'm talking about to the critical thinker. So like me, again, I'm not a Republican nor am I a Democrat. I do consider myself a critical thinker. To the critical thinkers like myself, you say, okay, this was the most convenient person for this job. This was the most convenient thing that the Democratic Party could have did. So they can say, hey, look, we put Barack Obama in office, and now we can say, look, we could put Kamala Harris in office, and this is what we do. So now they're gaining the people who are misinformed, who again are living their lives in a way where things are just simply convenient for them, or doing the things that are simply convenient for them. They're not moving with any intention. I can attract those minds and ultimately get their vote, get in office, and then I'll just do whatever it is I want to do once I get their vote. That's all they're looking for from you, right? Now, the reason I'm bringing all this up, and then for the first time listeners, what we do on the show is I present a problem, I present an issue, I present something that can derail you from your goals, or be a roadblock, or be something that can get in the way of wherever it is you're trying to go in life. I present something like what I'm presenting now, this dynamic between being convenient and being qualified, and then we are here to solve the issue for you. And I'm going to make it very crystal clear. Excuse me. I'm going to make it very crystal clear on how you solve this problem. All right. You become a critical thinker. All right. You develop go dream up whatever it is you want out of life. It is your dream. It is your baby. It is your responsibility to go and come up with whatever aspiration, whatever goal, whatever thing it is that you're waking up every single morning and wanting to do so bad. Come up with whatever goal that is. And then it's up to you to critically think about the people that are going to help you get there, whether it's the person that you befriend, the people that you reach out to, the way you put your services together, the mission statement, whatever it is, especially the what you are looking for in a partner, a significant other. All of these things need to be in alignment with your goals, with your specific goals. And this is on you. This is what you can come up with. All right. So, for example, I'll use myself as an example in this. When it comes to me and my biggest issue, since we're talking politics, my biggest issue, one of the things, well, I'll say my two biggest issues, and I remember actually speaking about this on other previous videos as I've been keeping up with all the election coverage and all that. For me, as a sports guy that has a sports background and depends heavily on athletics to perform and to do a lot of the work that I do. This idea, this stumbling of answers that the Biden administration gives whenever they're posed with the question of should males be available, be able to play in women's sports, that was an incredible turnoff for me. I could not get with them as much as, again, I'm former high school football coach, just like Tim Walls, black man that's raised in a Caribbean household, just like Kamala Harris. And I personally have an incredible fetish for Indian women as it is. So whether it's black or Indian, either way, I'm a fan of both. So I can see myself with both. I've done both, right? So I when it comes to the way that they answer the question about uh transgender playing in female sports, like a person who was born a man playing in female sports, that was a turn off for me. I can't get with that. That's just fucking ridiculous. There needs to be, like, Donald Trump got up in the RNC and made it 1000% clear there'll be no longer men playing in girls' sports. He said it in his speech. And then from that point, he got my vote at that particular time, right? Now, the next thing is I'm incredibly pro-life. I'm 35 years old, and I'm someone who aspires to be married. I aspire to have a house, and I aspire to have kids in that order. I do want to be a father, do want to raise a strong and a healthy family and all that, which is why their hard stance on this pro-abortion and how easy it is that they make. I mean, first of all, Kamala Harris isn't a mother herself, right? She's a stepmom. And the fact that she has the audacity to talk about abortion as if, she's been there, as if well, let me not say that. I don't know if she's had an abortion before, but for her to be talking about it as if she has kids of her own, I think that's very irresponsible. I don't like the fact that she talks about it as if she's an expert on the situation when you don't have your own kids. Now, granted, I understand some of her points in which she's had friends that have been raped and had to have the baby and all that kind of stuff like that. Those points, those talking points are incredibly fair and they're very heartfelt. But the bottom line is you specifically don't have kids of your own. And when you make it so easy for people to get an abortion, people like me who aspire to be a father and aspire to raise a family, it becomes a whole lot more difficult to do that because you have this mindset. You have women with this mindset that they can go fuck around. And if they don't want the baby, they can just simply get rid of it. And as you grow with that mindset, you're more so moving in the direction of what's convenient for them. If this access to some sex is right here, instead of me working with an individual, instead of me building something with a significant other, I'm just gonna go have sex, and if I get pregnant, fuck it, I have a government that's making it easy for me to get an abortion, and I could just move on. And that's the part I cannot get with. I don't care how much I relate to Kamala Harris and to Tim Walz. I do not support that bullshit. That bullshit where they had fucking taco, like abortion trucks right out the DNC, where people are walking in the damn truck and getting abortions and getting vasectomies and all that bullshit. I thought that was completely ridiculous. All right, that was just absolutely wrong. So for those reasons, because I'm a critical thinker, I don't care how much I relate to these two, I'm going to go with the person that's going to make it so I agree with the policies and the things that they're about, which is, again, why, Donald Trump is getting my vote this particular election. And I'm giving you the problem, I'm giving you the way to solve the issue in which you're pointed in a direction where you're going to be moving towards convenience. And if you just use me as an example, it's very easy. Just use exactly what I said. Even though Kamala and Walz are very convenient for Aswan Crookshank, when you look at the surface level of things and look at the surface level of what I may look like when you meet me for the first time. When you look at things from the surface, it may be like, oh yeah, of course Aswan would want a black woman and a former high school football coach to be president and vice president of the United States. That may be opening doors for Aswan's career and what Aswan's all about, which is true. That may be the case, but Aswan's not thinking about Aswan. For Aswan to be who as one is, he has to be thinking about what's best for the younger people, what's best for the next generation. And that is the solution. Just look at me, look at my life, right? Look at the example that I set for you on this show every single day, whether it's myself or whether it's another person that's coming on as a guest. It's on you to be the critical thinker and to answer the questions honestly based upon whatever you have officially dreamed up in your own head. That is the solution. And I'll close you out with this concept, just to kind of close out this principle of being convenient versus being qualified. All right. Think of it as if two restaurants, right? Two restaurants. You can get a 7-Eleven, or you can go get a five-star restaurant that is located in in somewhere in Las Vegas, right? Or yeah, somewhere in Las Vegas that's going to take months to register, to register months in a time, months ahead to get at this restaurant. And when you walk into a 7-Eleven, you can simply get whatever it is you want at whatever time of day it is. And, boom, you get your needs met for that specific moment. However, when you go to the five-star restaurant in, well, for the sake of this, we'll say somewhere in Las Vegas on the Strip, it's looking nice. You got valet parking. You walk in there, people are greeting you. You have to dress, you have to actually clean up really nice and all that kind of stuff. The waiters or the waitresses and all that, they're making sure you're taken care of. You have appetizers. You get your choice of appetizers. Get your choice of some nice drinks. Then they hook you up with your entree. And as soon as you're done with your entree, then they hook you up with a dessert. They give you a full meal and a full experience. And there's a reason you pay more for that. There's a reason you actually have to travel and you have to actually make plans, because that is the difference between, again, qualified, being someone that's qualified, versus something like a 7-Eleven that's convenient for everybody. You could just go. Trust me when I tell you. Trust me when I tell you. Again, regular listeners have heard me say this on multiple occasions. If you're new around here, trust me when I tell you. You do not want to put yourself you don't want to associate yourself at all. And the more and more you grow, you will understand this. Not sure what age you are that you're listening to this right now, but as you grow and you understand this and you've had enough life experiences and you realize what I'm telling you, how burnt it is, because you'll do it and not even realize it's happening. You don't want at all to be associated at all with something that's convenient. All right. Eventually that shit catches up to you and people start disrespecting you. People start taking you for granted. The folks that you would have thought would have loved to help you and all that kind of stuff, all of that stuff is going to go away. You need to be working your ass off. Work your ass off to put yourself in a situation where you are qualified, where you are becoming more and more qualified every single day to do to do bigger and better things. And you need to have the people around you who are working towards becoming qualified at something and not just conveniently doing whatever the hell it is they're doing. All right. Fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.